And as you beautifully put out on social media, drinking is one of the few activities that if you don't partake, people assume or accuse you of having a problem. And it's just wild. I mean, like, why would that be? And I think it also once actually I was out to dinner with a colleague years ago and I declined drinking that evening. I was just talking to the visiting speaker and she said, God, that's so boring. And well, first of all, I don't have a problem saying what's on my mind without alcohol, right? I don't have a excessive GABAergic inhibition. So I'll say what I want to say, as best I can. But, I think drinkers don't like people who don't drink because it takes the fun out of it for them. Because there's this idea that's, prolific on college campuses. Like if everyone's drunk, that somehow like the entire like vibe of the party is going to take on a new flavor. And frankly, I remember I went to a college, UC Santa Barbara, where at the time people drank a ton. It discovered alcoholics, right? And I used to go to parties sometimes. I'd look around, I'm thinking like everyone here is just blasted. Like if anything happened.
Were you drinking? Did you drink in college?
Yeah, I drank in college, but not that often. I had a habit, and I don't recommend this. I had a habit of going out about once a month and I would tie one on, absolutely.
Infrequent, but binge.
Yeah, I never, my tolerance to alcohol was always such that I would get drunk quickly and then sober up really fast. So I was drinking late into the night, but then I'd sober up really fast. Now, of course, we know the sleep you get after even one drink is vastly diminished.
Every single person that's got an aura or a whoop strap or something is feeling you right now.
And I think that alcohol to me never felt good. I never liked it. And it was a recipe for, there was a lot of fights. There was a lot of, there were a lot of bad stuff happens when people are drinking too much.
I've run
drunk driving, to say nothing of poor decision making.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it just feels like there's so many better ways to have a good time that alcohol isn't necessary. But I do understand that it's a big part of many cultures, and I do understand that for many people, it's so part and parcel with relaxing and with festivities and with feeling comfortable and with drawing a boundary between the normal day and the rest of the day.
That's interesting. There's a ritualistic aspect to it.
Yeah, there's this sort of, it divides the day in an interesting way. So I'm not judgmental of it. But for me, I mean, I'll go to a party where people are drinking and just hang out. I'm perfectly good.
Dude, I've stood on the door of 1,000 club nights in my career, right, as a club promoter. And I can promise you, for the people that are thinking, I like the sound of this justification, this excuse, that I don't need to drink anymore. Dr. Huberman has said that, maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's not as enjoyable. Nothing good happens in nightclubs after 1 a.m. I am patient zero. I am the doctor of late night parties. Okay. Like that's one of my expertise. Nothing good happens in a nightclub. It's this sort of messy, sloppy fights and kissing people you shouldn't and stumbling all over the place and stuff. If you go out and you don't drink and you go home at 1 a.m, I think you probably get to capture about 80% of the enjoyment of the event that you would have done had you have drank, pre-drinks, gone out, done the whole thing. Every single time that I take a macro dose but low of psilocybin, one where I can still function.
What is
0.75 to 1 gram.
So that's about, it's a little less than half of the macro therapeutic dose for intractable depression, which is something like 2.2 grams or so.
So you can still hold a conversation depending on what strain you've got. But every single time that I do it, without fail, a thought comes into my mind, which is, why does anyone drink alcohol? Why does anybody do it? Because I'll go to bed, my HRV, my recovery's fine. The next day, maybe I'm a little bit tired. Like I've had a lot of activation. I've been super energetic. Very little hangover. On the evening, I don't do stupid things. It makes me want to say nice things to all of my friends. My thoughts are sharper than they were before. Sometimes they're silly, but they're sharper. And then you compare it with alcohol, and it's this kind of sloppy, muddy, very unagile. It's just, I totally get what you mean. When you've taken a little bit of time away from it and you look at it in the harsh light of day, the effects that alcohol gives you just aren't that enjoyable. And it's been folded into people's lives through tradition and through just anchoring bias and continuation.
Yeah, and marketing. The idea that like someone can quote unquote hold their liquor is such like it's been made synonymous with, masculine ideals. It's like, I mean, it's kind of crazy because we know it also crushes testosterone levels. What's interesting is that, I forget who said this, but, there's a very different picture of a young drunk versus an old drunk. Someone who's been just drinking for too many years, it's not a pretty picture.
It's sad.
They become infantile. They become really infantile.
Studies suggest that acute alcohol intake can lead to a temporary decrease in testosterone levels, impacting the body's hormonal balance. Prolonged exposure to high levels of alcohol may contribute to sustained reductions in testosterone, potentially affecting reproductive health and overall well-being. Alcohol is rapidly absorbed into the bloodstream, affecting the central nervous system. This can lead to feelings of relaxation, lowered inhibitions, and impaired coordination. The liver works hard to break down alcohol, but excessive and prolonged drinking can lead to liver damage, cirrhosis, and other serious conditions. Alcohol's impact on the brain is significant. It affects neurotransmitters, leading to changes in mood and cognition. The cardiovascular system also experiences effects. While moderate alcohol intake may have some heart health benefits, excessive consumption can lead to high blood pressure, cardiomyopathy, and an increased risk of cardiovascular diseases.